Hello and welcome back to Whiskey Wars. My name is Sean, and tonight we'll be reviewing the most famous or most infamous bottle of bourbon on the planet. That's right, it's time to review Blanton's. Let's get into it. So here it is. Here is the one bottle of bourbon you have to have if you are a bourbon collector, or else you're not a real collector. Or so I'm told. Blanton's. Famous, infamous, depending on how you look at it. There's a ton of nicknames for it, such as Bland Tons, as in a ton of blandness. Also, Horsey Bottle, Pony Bottle. There's Taterade. And my personal favorite, which is My Little Pony. Yeah, so this pony bottle here is world famous. Lots of people love it. Some people hate it for all kinds of reasons, whether it be overpriced, overchased, overhyped. And then some people think that it's the right amount of hype. So let's get into this thing and see what it's all about. First though, quick history on this bottle. How did we get it? How do we get this beautiful bottle? Well, let's be fair, this is a gorgeous bottle of bourbon. It's certainly iconic. So how did we get this bottle that we call Bland's today? Well, we can thank Colonel Blanton for this bottle, sort of. We'll see about that in just a second. But Colonel Blanton was the head of the now Buffalo Trace Distillery way back when, and he would pick very select barrels from, guess which warehouse? Can anybody guess? It's right here. It says right there. From Warehouse H on the Buffalo Trace property, he would pick specific barrels that he really enjoyed, and he would serve those barrels once they were bottled or whatever the case to his guests, dignitaries and famous popular people of the day that came into town. He would serve his hand-selected barrels to these people. Well, Elmer T. Lee would be hired by Colonel Blanton, and Elmer T. Lee saw this process that Colonel Blanton was going through to pick these very special barrels. And so right before Elmer T. Lee's retirement, many years later after Colonel Blanton had died, he was asked to make a special bottle before he retired, and he came up with the idea of the world's first single barrel Blanton's. And so of course he followed in the same tradition as the head of the Buffalo Trace Distillery at the time when he was hired, Colonel Blanton, picking special barrels from Warehouse H, just like Colonel Blanton did, and that is how we got the bottle we have today. But now let's see if any of that really matters, because what really matters is what's inside this guy. Now, as you can see, I've drank quite a good amount of this, and if I'm honest, I've been kind of hoping it would open up, change, improve, get more interesting, all those kind of things. Let's see where we're at. Let's see what we got out of this Blanton's here. First, of course, we're going to nose it. Actually, first, let's see what it's got for legs. Nothing real significant there. Just kind of runs down the glass pretty quickly. There's a little bit of legs forming there, but no real thick oiliness that can be seen. Let's get into this nose. So very light, light caramels, maybe a citrus. Nice kind of a citrus orange note coming through. Very sweet orange, maybe even like nectarine. There is very little barrel spice coming through, just a hint of cinnamon. No real pepper notes coming through, a little bit of toasty oak note there. Nice vanilla. Almost like a whipped cream note there. And just some lightly toasted oak notes, maybe like a toasted marshmallow in there as well. All in all, a nice nose, very light though, very approachable, nothing off-putting, nothing sharp on the nose at all. Let's go ahead and get into the sip though. Let's see what we get here. Okay, so, just very typical middle-of-the-road bourbon notes. So brown sugar, caramel, vanilla, maybe a little bit of a whipped cream note in there. And then the only thing that's kind of exceptional on the palate is you do get this kind of sweet orange note, which is kind of nice, a little bit different. You don't find that in a whole lot of bourbons. So that's kind of nice. The whole palate, very light. Very smooth, very approachable. There's nothing spiky, sharp. There's very, very little spice on the palate. There is a hint of cinnamon, but very little. There might be just a little bit of, I would say more like a white pepper, kind of mid-palate there, but not a whole lot of spice going on, just very easy, just a nice general sweetness. Let's go in for one more sip here and kind of focus on the finish. Okay, so the finish. The finish is short to medium. I would say more on the short side. It is nice though, it's just kind of a general sweetness. That orange note does kind of carry through to the finish. You get a little bit of that white pepper on the finish as well, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. It's kind of like, still going a little bit sort of, I can still kind of pick it up. There's kind of just like a cinnamon orange thing going on there. Light toasted oak notes, maybe a little barrel spice on the finish. You know, so all in all, a good experience. Nothing earth-shattering or life-changing, anything like that. Just a very standard kind of bourbon experience. So as you can see, this is a store pick. You see the sticker there. But, you know, He-Man, let us know why Blanton store picks are not special. Yeah, thank you, He-Man. That's right. So all Blantons are single barrels. So a store pick single barrel, not necessarily special, unless you know who's picking it and they necessarily line up with your palate. They are going after things that you really enjoy. Although, you know, this is not the only Blantons I've had. This is probably, man, I don't know. So, I mean, I've had this bottle for a while, but all total, I've probably tried a dozen different bottles. And they're all fairly similar. You know, some do have a more cherry note. Some have a more pronounced citrus note. Either way, I think they're all good experiences. But now, you know, so there's the problem of this bottle. And that is findability, the hunt, and the price point. So I think if you gave this to someone blind and they had no idea what it was, you know, it's probably something like, you know, if they had to guess, $40 to $50 bottle. That's probably what I would guess based on the palate. You know, it drinks like a $40 or $50 bourbon. And at one point it was. Not anymore. Now locally, if you can find it at retail, it's more like $65 to $75. And I don't think it competes real well in that price point. There's too many other great bourbons that you can have for those prices, and I just don't think the Blanton's really stands up to that. That's my personal take. But let's go ahead and get to scoring this thing. So, you know, we have to score it based on the price that it is currently. And as I said, locally, $65 to $75. And when I think about that price point, I think it's very average for that price point. Just think it is. I don't think it's exceptional at all for a $65 or $75 bottle. Unless you're just going after something very simple and easy to sip on. If that's what you're after, especially if you're new to bourbon, then I get that. But if you have drank a lot of different bourbons and you have experienced a lot of different flavors and really interesting bourbons, I don't think this stands out at all. So, Blanton's score, very average. I'm going to go with just 5.8, just barely above a 5, which is average. So I think it's a little above average because it does a lot of things right, but it doesn't do anything really great. So that's it. That's my take on this bottle. You know, if you can find it at retail, I think it's worth buying at least once, or maybe just try it at a bar. That's probably what I would do, and just see what you're missing out on. So yeah, that's the My Little Pony bottle. That's the review, all said and done. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, hit that like button. And also, folks, here is a playlist of other reviews we have done. And here's the subscribe button. If you've really enjoyed what you've seen, please do those things. And until next time, folks, just remember, you can never have too much good whiskey.